The events of September 11, 2001, commonly referred to as 9/11, were a series of devastating terrorist attacks that shook the world. These attacks left an indelible mark on the collective memory of humanity, forever changing the way we view security, geopolitics, and the potential for large-scale violence. In this comprehensive exploration, we will delve into the 9/11 attacks, aiming to provide a clear understanding of what happened on that fateful day. Understanding the key players. Before delving into the events of 9/11, it's essential to understand the key players involved. Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda, which means the base in Arabic, is an extremist Islamist organization founded by Osama bin Laden. The group's primary objective was to establish a strict interpretation of Islamic law across the world and to resist perceived Western influence in Muslim countries. Osama bin Laden. As the founder and leader of Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden was a central figure in the planning and execution of the 9/11 attacks. He was a Saudi Arabian national who had declared a jihad, holy war, against the United States and its allies. The United States, the target of the attacks, was the world's superpower and a symbol of Western values. The nation played a significant role in global politics and had a presence in many countries, including the Middle East. The lead up to 9/11. To understand what happened on September 11, 2001, it's crucial to trace the events that led up to that tragic day. Several key factors contributed to the planning and execution of the 9/11 attacks. Soviet-Afghan War, 1979–1989. The Soviet Union's invasion of Afghanistan led to the emergence of militant Islamist groups, including Al-Qaeda. The United States, during the Cold War, supported Afghan resistance fighters, including Osama bin Laden. Rise of Al-Qaeda. Following the Soviet-Afghan War, Osama bin Laden and his followers formed Al-Qaeda, with a growing anti-American sentiment. 1990–1991 Gulf War. The presence of U.S. troops in Saudi Arabia during the Gulf War angered many Islamic extremists, including Osama bin Laden, who saw this as a violation of the Holy Land. 1993 World Trade Center bombing. In 1993, terrorists attempted to destroy the World Trade Center in New York City with a truck bomb. While the attempt failed to bring down the towers, it demonstrated the vulnerability of such targets. U.S. presence in the Middle East. The continued U.S. presence in the Middle East, particularly in Saudi Arabia and its support for Israel, fueled anti-American sentiment among Islamist extremists. The 9/11 attacks unfold. On the morning of September 11, 2001, 19 terrorists affiliated with Al-Qaeda hijacked 4 commercial airplanes. The terrorists were divided into 4 groups, each assigned to a specific target. American Airlines Flight 11. This plane departed from Boston and was headed to Los Angeles. It was crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City at 8:46 a.m., causing a massive fireball and extensive damage. United Airlines Flight 175. Also en route to Los Angeles from Boston, this plane struck the South Tower of the World Trade Center at 9:03 a.m., approximately 17 minutes after the first impact. The world watched in shock as both towers burned. American Airlines Flight 77. Departing from Washington Dulles International Airport, this aircraft was bound for Los Angeles. At 9:37 a.m., it was flown into the Pentagon, the headquarters of the United States Department of Defense. United Airlines Flight 93, intended for a target in Washington, D.C., this plane, after passengers attempted to regain control, crashed into a field in Pennsylvania at 10:03 a.m. It is believed that the passengers' heroic actions prevented further destruction. The immediate aftermath. The 9/11 attacks had a profound and immediate impact on the United States and the world. Casualties. Nearly 3,000 people lost their lives in the attacks, making it one of the deadliest terrorist acts in history. Economic impact. The attacks caused significant economic damage, including the destruction of the World Trade Center complex and damage to the Pentagon. The financial markets also suffered, with the New York Stock Exchange closing for nearly a week. National security response. The U.S. government declared a state of emergency, and the military was put on high alert. Security measures at airports and other critical infrastructure were dramatically increased. Global response. Nations around the world expressed solidarity with the United States, and many initiated their own security measures to prevent similar attacks. War on Terror. In the wake of 9/11, the United States launched the War on Terror. The U.S. military invaded Afghanistan in an effort to dismantle al-Qaeda and remove the Taliban regime that had harbored them. Patriot Act. The USA Patriot Act was passed, granting law enforcement agencies expanded surveillance and intelligence gathering powers. The investigation and identification of perpetrators. In the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, an extensive investigation was launched to identify the perpetrators and those responsible for planning and financing the attacks. Key developments included hijacker identities. Through a combination of flight manifests, forensic evidence, and intelligence, investigators identified the 19 hijackers and established their links to al-Qaeda. Financial trail. Investigators traced the financial transactions that funded the attacks. They identified individuals and entities that had provided financial support to the hijackers and their handlers. Osama bin Laden's role. Osama bin Laden, who had been living in Afghanistan under the protection of the Taliban, claimed responsibility for the attacks in a videotaped statement. The United States demanded his extradition, but the Taliban refused. Global manhunt. The U.S. launched a global manhunt for those responsible, focusing on dismantling al-Qaeda and bringing its leadership to justice. War in Afghanistan. In October 2001, the U.S. led a coalition of international forces in an invasion of Afghanistan, toppling the Taliban regime and targeting al-Qaeda bases. The aftermath and global consequences. The 9/11 attacks had far-reaching consequences that reshaped the world in various ways. War in Afghanistan. The US-led invasion of Afghanistan resulted in a protracted conflict that lasted for over 2 decades. While the Taliban regime was initially ousted, it re-emerged as a potent force in the years that followed. Global war on terror. The US expanded its counter-terrorism efforts globally, engaging in military operations and intelligence sharing with numerous countries to combat al-Qaeda and affiliated groups. Security enhancements. Security measures at airports, government buildings, and public spaces were significantly heightened. Enhanced surveillance and intelligence sharing became standard practice. Please like and subscribe my channel. Thank you.